Aloha. Today's question, can you imagine knowing that you were going to have to die in a few days? That's what God wanted from you, and you still had to be nice? Well, Jesus predicted that he was going to be crucified, so he knew this in advance. Can you imagine knowing that you were going to go through the beatings and the torture of being nailed to the cross, and then being hung there to die until you take your last breath, being mocked and ridiculed by the people that hated you? He did nothing wrong. This was for us, all for a world full of sinners that may or may not even accept this wonderful gift of life from him, or may or may not ever even thank him for it, if they do accept he did it, or to really love him for this precious gift. Let me read to you a few verses about this. We're going to start in Matthew 16. That's Matthew chapter 16, verses 21 through 23. And I'm going to read to you today out of the NLT. So that's Matthew 16, verses 21 through 23. From then on, Jesus began to tell his disciples plainly that it was necessary for him to go to Jerusalem and that he would suffer many terrible things at the hands of the elders, the leading priests, and the teachers of religious law. He would be killed, but on the third day he would be raised from the dead. But Peter looked at him and took him aside and began to reprimand him for saying such things. "Heaven forbid, Lord," he said. "These will never happen to you." Jesus turned to Peter and said, "Get away from me, Satan. You are a dangerous trap to me. You are seeing things merely from a human point of view, not from God's." And then we turn to Mark. And this is Mark chapter 8, verses 31 through 33. Then Jesus began to tell them that the Son of Man must suffer many terrible things and be rejected by the elders, the leading priests, and the teachers of religious law. He would be killed, but 3 days later would rise again. As he talked about this openly with his disciples, Peter took him aside and began to reprimand him for saying such things. Jesus turned around and looked at all of his disciples. Then he reprimanded Peter. "Get away from me, Satan," he said. "You are seeing things merely from a human point of view, not from God's." A lot of times when we're going through things, we look at things strictly from our human point of view. We don't see that sometimes through a little bit of our suffering, we might be actually helping somebody else reach heaven. So never run from the suffering of God. Just remember, our goal is going to be raised with him in heaven. One last one I want to read to you today. This one is found in Luke. And again, Jesus knew this was coming. Luke 9, verse 22. Jesus warned his disciples not to tell anyone who he was. "The Son of Man must suffer many terrible things," he said. "He will be rejected by the elders, by the leading priests, and by the teachers of religious law. He will be killed, but on the third day, he will be raised from the dead." I just wanted to kind of share this with you in closing and tell you that tomorrow marks the anniversary of his death, that he died for our sins. Make sure you thank him and accept this wonderful gift and receive his peace. God bless you all. Mahalo.